Hi. Hi. Good morning. First words of the day. It's Sunday, March 2nd at 5:08 a.m. I got up about 4:30 and I was like, well, I guess it's time to get up. I felt alive enough and I just woke up with this feeling of peace. It was very peaceful in the house, that's for sure. Very quiet. Except for those cats out there. They'll be knocking any moment. And then I came down here to review lesson 60 of A Course in Miracles. I say down here because I'm in my basement, my little cave. And it's the lesson 60 of A Course in Miracles, and it's the last of 10 review lessons, a recap of 5 of the first 50. So we're reviewing lessons 45th or 50. Yeah, I haven't talked much yet today. These are my first words. So 46, so I guess what I wanted to say is when I woke up feeling that peace, and then I had this feeling of, I don't know where the words are coming from, but seeking to understand seems to be the vibe of the morning. I don't know why that message is coming through. And then I was like, am I supposed to do a reading about that? I don't know, I'm going to feel into it more. And then what my hope is that we're moving into a time where the most prevalent, most obvious, ready place to see this happen is in social media, because I feel like there's been a trend for the past several years where we're not seeking to understand. Obviously with social media, we're like looking for where we can interject opposition into the conversation, which isn't really a conversation, right? We don't have conversations on social media. We've been in this mode of things have escalated to a point where I feel like we seek to interject, seek to opposition. What's the verb of opposition? Oppose. Seek to oppose versus seek to understand. And so there's some vibe I feel like that's coming. Maybe this month we're going to start to see more of it. I really hope, where we seek to understand. Is my screen fuzzy? Does that look better? Has a lot of fingerprints on it. I need to clean it. So, I don't know. I just feel optimistic and hopeful and a little bit quiet. Like, are we actually... It feels good. It's a good feeling. It's positive. Like, are we moving into a time of leaving that behind us? Like when you go into a comment section with your bowl of popcorn and you're like, I'm just here to see all the differing opinions that have to be interjected, versus like, let's read the original poster's intent. Let's try to understand that and be like, okay, here's some help you're seeking. Here's some understanding I can offer, versus I just have to oppose what you're saying to interject my different viewpoint to show you how unique I am and how you should really consider this idea. Aren't you tired of that? Yeah, we all have different ideas. We're different humans. That's the point. We're all unique. I don't have to prove it. And so, yeah, I'm just really hopeful that we're moving out of that exhausting time of like seeking to oppose and moving into a seeking to understand kind of time. So I'm going to feel into that more, because it's a good feeling to be hopeful. And also when I have hope, I'm looking out of my eyes, like looking for that now, versus looking for the opposition, versus looking to get my popcorn first and settle down into a comment section. Like, oh, sometimes I catch myself in that mode, especially I'm in some massage therapy professional groups online. And I love, the reason I joined those is so I could gather a bunch of differing opinions as a newer therapist within the last couple of years. I'm like, I love that, all the different viewpoints. So I can make sure I'm considering different angles that I wouldn't have maybe thought of as a new therapist. But then things just then I'm like, ooh, this feels icky. It's more of the same that you see out on the broader social media where it's not so helpful all the time, or not even half the time. People are just like, I can't believe you would do that. That's not how I would do it. You should be more professional. It's like, no, we're in these groups to learn. So anyway, that's where I see a lot of it, because I don't scroll a lot on Facebook, but I do use those groups to seek awareness. And then sometimes it drags me down into the comments of like seeking to look at people opposing. And it's like, ew, that's an icky feeling. I don't like it. So anyway, all that aside, number 46, God is the love in which I forgive. Number 47, God is the strength in which I trust. I like that one. Number 48, there is nothing to fear. And number 49, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Number 50, I am sustained by the love of God. Seems like not that long ago we were doing these lessons individually, perhaps 11 days ago. So they're more fresh in my mind and heart, really. I love these so much. I remember when I think this was right when I got back home, is when I got in from my trip in Costa Rica. I got back home and this is when I was doing these particular 5. So, God is the love in which I forgive. God does not forgive because he is never condemned. The blameless cannot blame, and those who have accepted their innocence can see nothing to forgive. And now I wonder, as I was reflecting on this, like, is that why yesterday in the reading, this idea of forgiveness came up, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. It's acceptance. And I wonder if this is where that seed got planted in me, that it doesn't feel right to forgive. This was only like 14 days ago or whatever, 15 days ago, where I'm like, it doesn't feel right to forgive, because that means and yesterday I likened it to carrying forward an old story, like I'm still blaming or something. And it's this, God, it's like, the blameless cannot blame, and those who have accepted their innocence can see nothing to forgive. Acceptance, accepting our innocence, means there's no reason to have to forgive. God does not forgive because he is never condemned. And condemned is the word I needed yesterday when I kept saying, like, that just feels wrong. And that's because forgiveness means, oh, I've condemned you, and I might actually still be, but just know I'm the bigger person and I'm forgiving you. There's something icky about forgiveness, that it just doesn't feel good anymore. And I think acceptance is the word that really feels a lot better. And it says, those who've accepted their innocence. I've accepted your innocence. I've accepted my innocence. I don't need to forgive. I can accept. And we can move on together. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I'm going to remember that. God is the strength in which I trust. It is not my own strength through which I forgive. It is through the strength of God in me, which I am remembering as I forgive. Which is interesting that they bring it back to forgiveness. And I think they mean acceptance. I forgive all things because I feel the stirring of his strength in me, of God's strength in me. I can accept everything out of that source of God's strength. Oh, it's so true. I feel it. It's like, there is nothing to fear. How safe the world will look to me when I can see it. It will not look anything like what I imagine I see. Everyone and everything I see will lean toward me to bless me. There is nothing to fear. There isn't. It's like the fear eyeballs. When I look out of my fear eyeballs, that's all I see. When I realize there's nothing to fear here. There's nothing to fear. Everything is safe. Everyone and everything I see will lean toward me to bless me. I love that visual. It's like, instead of going away from each other, we're coming toward each other in blessing and saying, I see you. I accept you. I don't fear you. You don't have to fear me. Number 49, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I remember this one, like, it brought a quietness, I think I remember, like, because I maybe was listening for the voice in those moments. There is not a moment in which God's voice ceases to call on my forgiveness to save me. Again, my acceptance. There's not a moment in which God's voice fails to direct my thoughts, guide my actions, and lead my feet. I am walking steadily on toward truth. There is nowhere else I could go because God's voice is the only voice and the only guide that has been given to us, His people. I am sustained by the love of God. As I listen to God's voice, I am sustained by God's love. As I open my eyes, God's love lights up the world for me to see. This was the important part of the God eyeballs, the love eyeballs. And it's a lot of these lessons have been saying that, like, we look out of these eyes and we make our world, we make our reality. And it all starts from like this mind machine and quieting that enough to really be like, let the God eyeballs come in by quieting the mind and sitting in presence, looking around in gratitude. And as I look upon the world with the vision God has given me, I am remembering that I am God's son, God's love. It also said, as I forgive, or says, I'm going to change forgive to accept. As I accept, God's love reminds me that all people are sinless. As I accept, that means I don't see sin out in the world. I don't see the whole, like back when I mentioned this before, victims and perpetrators. I don't see fear. I see love. As I accept, as I sit in acceptance of what is, how can I possibly see anything but love? Oh, I'm gonna cry. It's so beautiful. I love these lesson reviews. I'm so glad we got a chance to review them. Oh, we get to go into some new ones today. I'm gonna put that down. I've got to read that here in a moment. It's a good one. So anyway, yeah, there's this idea of acceptance for what is and seeking to understand. Yup. I guess that's all that wants to be said. It's Sunday and I'm going to go to church and I'm excited because I haven't been to a sermon in a while and I'm really loving the idea of getting back into it. And I think this book brought me back around. There was this time of like quieting everything in my life. I got rid of everything. I literally, like, during COVID, I don't like this phrase. I gotta come up with another one. I threw the baby out with the bathwater. I literally got rid of everything in my life. All clubs I was in, all associations, all boards I was sitting on, organizations I was affiliated with. I quit my career. I took some time out to even feel into like what was my new phase of life going to look like. I literally took it was that tower moment like yesterday that showed up in the reading. It was that feeling of taking everything down to the ground so I can heal the ground and build a new foundation, plant roots, whatever analogy. And I did. It happened. And one of those things was I stopped going to church. I think I probably stopped a little before COVID, but COVID really just stopped. And I guess I did do some Zoom meetings. But after that, I didn't come back. And now I feel a resurgence, like it's time to bring this piece back in. When you pull in the pieces that are meant to come back in, but leave what crumbled down, like leave the other stuff behind. So that's why I'm feeling really excited about going back today, is like a new life force energy behind wanting to connect with God in my new way, which, oh no, I just lost a bookmark. Oh, it's right there. I make these bookmarks and they're slippery. That's the only downside, is when you pick up a book haphazardly. Oh, good, I had my other thing in there. Sorry you had to go through that. It's a crazy camera. But anyway, that book is helping me develop my own new understanding of God and my relationship in God and in myself, and so I'm excited to start to listen to messages again, the sermons, in a new light, where I don't take things literally, and I don't have to. And I don't have to agree with everything people wrote into the Bible. I can now understand God's real intent through the messages of A Course in Miracles, which is, they say in the beginning, it's like, Jesus is like, yeah, these are the real intentions behind my teachings. Like, people got it wrong, got it skewed along the way. Here's the real intent. So, yeah, now I can kind of look at things, the sermons and Bible verses and all of that, through that lens, the real intent of the messages versus, I've never been one for taking things literally, but it used to put me off. I'm like, like certain, doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right for me. And so now I've come around to my own, like, acceptance, I guess, of the way I see the intention coming through in the messages. So I just had to, it took a long road to get there, and I had to create some space and understanding, seeking to understand intent. I think that's the thing, is we had to seek to understand each other's intent instead of seeking to oppose the words, the literal. That's all. Have a beautiful Sunday and week ahead.